I'm not sure if we have Michael available yet, but we could move on to our first guest if he's here, and I could start introducing them as well. Because speaking of local candidates, Michael has been one since and an elected official since 1989. He's been on the Cherry Valley Borough Council. This is in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, Greens are running two elections, actually. They first ran in Pennsylvania in 1993 for city council in Bethlehem and a write-in for governor. 310 Pennsylvania Green candidates in party history, sixth most of any state. 82 Pennsylvania Greens have been elected, fifth most. And heading into the 2023 elections, 11 Pennsylvania Greens hold elected office. And in Pennsylvania, they have a registration system so they can know that they have 9,986 registered Greens in the state, which is the sixth most of any state. I think those of us like us in Minnesota who maybe aren't doing so well, we can learn a lot from these states and how do they do it and how they build. And they certainly have done that in Pennsylvania. And I don't know if we have any results of that race yet, but Michael Badges Canning is running for mayor of Cherry Valley after serving on the borough council. He is a retired teacher. He's been a longtime labor advocate, also a labor official of his union when he was teaching. He worked on ending legalized gifts to legislators. He's supporting public health by ending fracking. Not only, and maybe like a lot of Greens, not only has he been in electoral politics, but he's been an activist organizing marches, protests, and all sorts of activity. And he ran for the Pennsylvania House District 64 in 2020 and lieutenant governor in 2022. So I would like to welcome you, if you're here, Michael, to join us.
I'm definitely here.
There you are.
You can hear me. Yeah.
Now I can see you and I can hear you. Fantastic. Maybe first you could just tell me a little bit about what it's like being a mayor of a small town and a Green at the same time.
Wow. I don't imagine being the Green is that big of a difference than not being a Green, especially in a small community like the one I live in. My neighbors don't particularly care if I'm Green or a Republican or a Democrat. What they care about is, that we take care of our 3 miles of roads, that we aren't burdened with onerous regulation coming from the state and that kind of stuff. I mean, just to give you an example, I'm a former special ed teacher, and I'm all about the American with Disabilities Act. But when the American Disabilities Act was passed, we were voting in Mary Young's living room, and Butler County, I live in Butler County, came out, the election folks came out, and they said, Mary Young's living room is not accessible. So we're going to have to change where we vote. And so they moved it to Mary Young's garage, which was very accessible. Well, the only disabled person in Butler County, or in Cherry Valley, I should say, was Mary Young. And so she had to navigate a whole set of stairs to get to her to the voting place instead of just walking from her bedroom to the living room. So I had nothing to do with changing this, but except for putting pressure on the district, the county. So yeah, that's the kind of crazy stuff that people look to me for, is to push back against that stuff. And we actually have a thing right now that we're dealing with that. I loved you guys. I was listening in. You were talking about ballot access. One of my big victories, I haven't heard yet whether I won tonight. Polls are just now closing, but we have an onerous system for folks getting on the ballot. But in this case, it's not a Green. It's very easy for me to get on the ballot. I need to get 10 signatures, petition signatures, but my neighbors who are Democrats and Republicans have an almost impossible task of getting on the ballot. And so for the last maybe 15 years, we've had a tough time getting a full council because the regulations are onerous. And what I mean by that is, in order to get on the ballot, we have to have 10 signatures. In Cherry Valley, we only have 9 Democrats, so it's impossible for a Democrat to get on at all. And it's almost impossible for the Republicans to get on because they need to get 10 signatures, and finding 10 Republicans home in the time frame that they're looking for, it's impossible. So one of the things that I did this cycle was actually work hard to get them on the ballot, and I am pretty sure they're all going to be elected tonight, and that's because the Green helped get Democrats and Republicans on the ballot. So I think what my neighbors are looking for in a mayor and in a borough council, I was on borough council for 30 some years, is making sure that we get things taken care of.
So what's the population of your town?
We're less than 50. We have 37 registered voters. So it's actually a very tiny borough, a rural borough in northern Butler County.
I suppose you know all their first names.
I do. Well, actually, we have two. I mean, I know their names, but I haven't yet met two folks. Just moved into the community in the last month, and I haven't yet met them. But yeah, I know everybody just about.
Do you use the Green Party values very much in terms of campaigning or in decision making, or how do you try to apply that?
Well, definitely in decision making. Like I said, one of the things that I think is really important is that we make decisions closest to where they need to be made. So that definitely informs where I'm coming from in a lot of things. I think that grassroots democracy is a big deal, and so yeah, that for sure. And then, as you mentioned, I've also run for state rep and for lieutenant governor, and the green values definitely shaped my platform in those instances for sure. Yeah.
Michael, I can presume that the challenges you faced during the different runs you've had, like for lieutenant governor, for borough council, and now for mayor, are pretty different because you're talking to very different groups of people, right? Much bigger audiences sometimes. What do you think was your biggest challenge in those three races? Like, what was the biggest messaging challenge you had?
Well, I mean, running for borough council and for mayor, I don't think I have a messaging issue. Like I said, my neighbors know who I am. They know I'm green. They know where I'm coming from. They know that I'm involved in stuff that maybe they don't agree with, but they also know that I'm their neighbor and that I can be counted on to do what's right here in the borough. Now, as far as the larger audience, I mean, when running for state rep and lieutenant governor, number one, I heard you guys mentioning the Bernie effect. That was definitely something that I had to deal with in my second run for state rep and also for lieutenant governor. I mean, the whole idea that, yeah, you're just wasting your vote. That's been something I've had to deal with over and over on the larger offices. It's something else. And then also the Ralph Nader, Jill Stein caused thing. That's a problem. And then also the perception, I think, that a lot of folks have about what Greens are and who we are is that we are, far out there, or that we're the liberal wing of the Democratic Party, which is also kind of irritating. But those are the messages that I've had to deal with that I've informed some of my runs for sure.
Did you have any competition in the race this year?
No.
So you're probably going to win for sure.
I am reasonably positive I am going to win. Yeah. I mean, we had a mayor, Ron Lockwood, was our mayor for 51 years. Ron was a Republican, but Ron was also a damn good guy. And I'm trying to carry on Ron's legacy in that we're, looking out for the community. But Ron was also mayor because not a whole lot of people in Butler County, especially my part of Butler County, northern Butler County, have time to serve on things like borough councils and serve in our fire departments, or even doing things like tonight. My wife is working the polls. She's a minority inspector. She's elected to that. But most people can't afford to do that. One constant in the 40 some years that I've lived here is that we're bleeding jobs and young people. So people don't have time to do community stuff. And as a consequence, yeah, they don't run for office. And in fact, that's one of the things, like I said earlier, we haven't had a really well-functioning borough council for the last 15 years because it's very difficult for people to get involved in civic things. So that's one of the things I've been doing for the last year and a half is trying to build that up. So, but yeah, so I don't have any competition. And I don't think anyone else wants the job, but yeah, that's where we're at.
Well, talking to you makes me remember something that I picked up while I was campaigning and also serving in public office. A lot of times people don't care so much, especially in the city and the town races, even what your political affiliation is. They're just looking for somebody who will actually care about them and will listen to them and will take them into consideration when they're making decisions. And I think that, I'm getting from you that you really do care about your community and you care about those 37 people and the rest of them, and they know that. And I think that's a key, and that's really important for anybody who's thinking about running is how do you actually communicate that to folks when you're talking to them and at their door. And I tell people, if you don't actually care about individuals in your community, if you don't actually love the people you're planning on serving, and I mean that in kind of a general way, but a really authentic way, don't do it. Because that's really what they need is somebody who will care about them and help care for them in their government. And I'm picking up that certainly is something that you're doing. And I'm also curious if you might have any advice to folks who are thinking about running, even for a really small race or anything. What should they do to get ready, or maybe check it out and make sure it's a good fit for them? If you have any advice you'd give to somebody who's thinking of it or wants to run, who might be listening today?
Yeah, I mean, let me go back to your first point about loving your neighbor, whatever you want to call it. That's definitely I think that's important. You have to care about the people in your community, and unfortunately, the Democrats and the Republicans in this part of the world, and I'm thinking a lot of the world, they don't really care about you at all. They care about maybe your vote, but they don't really care about you. So for 40 some years that I've lived here in northern Butler County, the Democrats ignore us. They don't care about rural voters at all. And the Republicans patronize us. They say a lot of the right stuff, but then when it comes time to actually deliver, they don't deliver at all. And so we have horrible infrastructure. Right now, my internet's working pretty good right now, but I also know that it's sporadic as hell. The FCC says that 25 megabits per second is basic. I know that I've been off and down around 5 megabits per second, and that's not good. And that's because our folks ignore us. Our elected officials ignore us. The other thing that I thought of when you were saying that is that when I ran for state rep, this isn't a problem I have in Cherry Valley. I can talk to my neighbors fairly easily. But when I ran for state rep, I went to a lot of places where they hadn't been visited. I can remember one thing. They said they hadn't seen a politician the entire time they lived in their house, 25 years. So what I would say to someone thinking about running is, first of all, get yourself involved in whatever it is you're thinking about running. If you're running for a borough council, go to the borough council meetings. If you're going to run for a mayor, go to the council meeting and find out what's going on. If you're running for state rep, find out. Go to the meetings and find out what the hell needs to be happening in your community. Find out what the big issues are. Talk to people. That's important. And don't wait until the last minute to do it. Get your butt in gear. Start lining stuff up. Get your committee put together and all that stuff.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Michael. That was really informative, and I think it's really great advice. I think that, of course, if you could be a green and arranged to have nobody running against you, that would be ideal. But I don't know if we all have that same luxury.
I hear you.
So do you have any other results that you're seeing from Pennsylvania?
I haven't seen anything yet, but I'm pretty sure that right now, I just got word that I have in fact won, and also the other borough
Nice.
council folks have won as well. So I guess I'm an elected mayor now.
Perfect.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Are you going to have a celebration?
Cherry Valley is a pretty small place, and we go to bed early.
Well,
So I guess I'm having my celebration with you guys right now.
Yeah, that's right. This is it.
Fair enough. Well, I just want to say then, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for joining us this evening and for giving us your insight and your experience and relating them to us directly and then to other viewers who are watching this right now and will watch it afterwards. This is that kind of thing that's going to be inspiring for a long time to come for a lot of Greens. And I really appreciate you taking your time, especially tonight, right on election night, to be here with us.
My
I
pleasure.
just noticed that Tara Yanni, and I'm not sure if you know her, but
I do.
She it looks like was facing a small write-in challenge, but she was third in 3 seats, so she's been reelected as well for I think Edwards Borough Council. If I've got that right.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep. That's a Pittsburgh community, and she's a terrific person.
Excellent.